lost, plant, harvest, lend, borrow, increase, reduce, understand, misunderstand, grow, shrink, appear, disappear, gave, receive, like, dislike, lock, unlock, enter, exit, arrive, leave, ignited, extinguished, win, lose, spend, save, pick up, put down, succeed, fail, inhale, exhale. So there aren't tons though, are there?
Yeah. So I was just kind of, I was a little bit struggling too. And so basically, I guess what I kind of came up with was, so basically I would start off the lesson um, by like activating their prior knowledge, reminding them what a verb is, because it's been quite some time.
Going. Oh,
Hi Logan.
hi Logan. Are you leaving? No, staying? Okay.
Yeah, so it's been quite some time since, I mean, I kind of wish I had been looking forward, like I had kind of done this more in like accordance, because then I would probably have done the opposites right after I introduced the verbs, because I feel like that's what I did with the adjectives. But then this time I feel like we're going back all the way.
Right.
Yeah, so I feel kind of bad, but anyways, just kind of tapping into their prior knowledge, reminding the students like what a verb is. A verb is something that you do, and then also reminding them like what an opposite is. Opposite means different, and then telling them, oh, like, you know how we talked about adjectives that have their opposites, verbs have their opposites as well. And so I was thinking about like kind of telling a story about like a pet. I was at first I was thinking like a student, because I was like thinking about like that one book, No David No, but then I was like, oh, I feel like that might not be like the most like encouraging story to tell. So I was like, oh, I'll tell a story about like my pet dog who does the opposite of everything I tell him to. Like, you know, when I tell him to come, he just stays where he is. When I tell him to sit, he starts to jump. When I tell him to go to sleep, he stays awake. And like when I tell him to like spit out something that he has in his mouth, he eats it. And then so I would just, after telling them that story, I would say, I mean, I guess I would ask some, see this part too, because I'm nervous that if I ask them to volunteer their verbs, like I won't be able to think of an opposite for them.
Yeah.
Do you kind of know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I would actually maybe have them act it out.
Have them act it out. Okay.
So, you know, so just pretend you're asleep. Okay, what would be the opposite of that? Wake up. Or, you know, or you know, pretend like you're opening a door. What would be the opposite? Close.
Yeah.
Pretend you break a pencil or break, you know, you break something, you know, then what would be the opposite? Fix it. So I would do more acting out. I don't think there's so many verbs in the world that I think it'd be hard to, I think you don't want to ask questions that you don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
You know, and
exactly.
I think that's a little too abstract or too general.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily do that, but I think having them act it out would be really good.
Yeah.
Again, you got that TPR going, especially for the ELs, but again, for all the kids.
Yeah.
And that's movement, and that's always good to include in your lessons.
Yeah.
Because they're kinders.
Yeah, I like that actually. And then another thing I was kind of thinking about doing, because I was thinking about like just, again, how to make it more like interactive, just because I feel like the more and more I've been like teaching, just the thing that I'm thinking is like, oh, just like sitting on the rug and doing nothing is never like,
right.
I mean, unless you have to tell them something, then that's fine, but like it's always better for them to like be doing something. So I was also thinking about like making like a opposites bingo card.
That'd be fun.
So like they would do it in pairs,
Okay.
and then just yeah, I would have like this is actually not the verbs, but then I would probably just make it myself and just have like a picture of the verb, and then I would call out like, okay, like sleeping, and then or awake, and then they would have to
do sleep.
Yeah, put something on sleep, and then just have like have them do that, and then when they win, they would come up, and then like 4 in a row they would say like, oh, shout is the opposite of whisper, stand up is the opposite of sit down, and then if they win.
Hi Logan, see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Is it okay if I give like, because it's bingo, so I was like, oh, what if I give like a little prize to someone who wins? But do you think I should just, no? should I just say, oh, you win? Or maybe a pride slip, I don't know.
Well, the problem is you're gonna have some upset.
Yeah,
you know what I
was
mean?
thinking,
It's just because
yeah.
not everybody can win, and I mean,
Mhm.
and they get that. Oh well, you know, we do. Oh well, maybe next time if,
Yeah,
if they
yeah.
don't win. I don't know. I think winning just for the sake of winning is
Yeah, I think
enough.
yeah, okay, sure, that's fine. And then yeah. So this was like what I was thinking for like the initial lesson, and then I was thinking I could try and find a book as well, because I'm sure there's a book out there that has opposite verbs as well. So by the way, for this lesson plan, you know how I was looking for a book?
Mhm.
So there's literally nothing like
Oh no.
even the Bass book. I kind of I bought like an online copy, just like the ebook, because I was thinking, oh, if worst comes to worst, like I can always like just bring my iPad and then like read them the book through my iPad. But then even that one, it just, I don't know, it just wasn't very good. So actually, like I looked at the first Amelia Bedelia book, and then not all of them are like homophones. Some of them are like homographs. So it's like draw the curtains, and then like draw the curtains as well.
Right.
So I was thinking I would just, is it okay with you if I just read them that one and then have a couple examples in there of like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just looking for opposite. I don't know if there's a. I mean, they're opposite books, but they're just like pictures, and they're not
Like
necessarily.
high, low.
Yeah, they're not necessarily. You know, like a book. Again, we should write one. Opposite for a book. I don't know. See images. Let's just see. So I know it's hard because it's always nice to tie it to literature. Just
Yeah.
Let's just stop and go. Yes and no. Then it's just like, see, it's not really a book, you know.
No.
That's on Pinterest too. Never mind. Oh no, this. Oh, what's the view page? Oh, anyway, keep going, and we'll see.
Yeah, or that's basically what I have for now. But I mean, for me, I feel like the thing I'm struggling with is kind of like after the lesson, just like how to tie it in with another lesson. Sometimes I feel like I struggle with making that like.
So
I don't
what do
know.
you like?
Because I feel like whenever I have a topic, I should at least, or like a standard, there should be at least like a couple or like maybe even 3 lessons together that really like solidify the knowledge for the kids. But I just kind of feel like sometimes like after I teach it, I'm like, okay. And then there's always like the worksheets I give them like for their TLEs. But then like in terms of like other lessons to build upon that, like I feel like I'm always kind of like stuck after that.
No, I hear what you're saying. I guess it's just because I think your CLEs have been really, your activity has been really strong, and then just kind of based on that, I mean, if they get the skill, they get the skill. For those kids who don't get it, then you would want to kind of reteach and maybe approach it from a different angle. But if you feel like they've got it, I mean, that's the thing. You know, if they've got the skill, if they've mastered it, then you don't need to do it. I mean, it'd be fun. Sometimes for me, the culminating activity could be like if they write about it. You know, that really kind of shows you kind of their thinking is if they write about it, or you know, or they draw about it and really kind of have them create their own work. So but no, I mean, sometimes you know, if they get it, they get it. You don't need to waste your time teaching them something they already know. You know, if you can go deeper, maybe like if we looked at the first grade standard, you know, because we do have kids who are, you know, above and beyond, and so I do like to always kind of meet all the needs of the kids.
Mhm.
So let me see if I can find. So this is in language writing. Third grade. All right. So. Oh, that's third grade, no wonder. So first grade would be sort words into categories, define words by category and by one or more key attribute. Identify real life connections between words and their use, distinguish shades of meaning among verbs and adjectives. Doesn't even talk about opposites.
Mm.
In the second grade, doesn't even talk about opposites. So this is the only time they get opposites.
Oh.
That's interesting. For at least, alright. So, yeah, so
Mhm.
that's fun. That's interesting. Anyway, so that didn't help. So again, so I think, you know, I mean, there's nothing that says you have to have 3 lessons.
Mhm.
If they get it,
Yeah.
then they
Just
got
move
it.
on to the next. Yeah.
I would just, you know, again, you know, listen in and who's getting it and who's not, and those kids who aren't getting it, you know,
Yeah.
you would reteach, approach it from a different angle, because
Mhm.
maybe, and you'll find this more with math, at least I did,
Mhm.
especially teaching 4th grade math, which came very easy to me.
Mhm.
I had to get in their heads and figure out what aren't they
Oh.
getting? Why aren't they getting how to multiply two-digit numbers?
Yeah.
What, you know, and so then I had to figure out, like, what's the holdup, and I had to kind of think like they think, so that I could figure out exactly where they're getting hung up and how I could teach it that in their learning style.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of like, okay, so why aren't they getting it? What are they getting hung up on, and how can I approach it in a way that they would understand? Because, you know, none of kids don't think like we do, you know. So
How do you do that for math? Do you just like watch them as they're trying to
Yeah,
solve
like
something?
some of them didn't have their math facts, so they just they
Mhm.
needed like for division, I actually, if they were dividing like by 7, I'd have them on the side of the paper do all the multiples of 7, 14, 21, 28, and then they would count. And so like if it was 54 divided by 7, and they saw 54 on the side, then they could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, 56. That's 7 times 8.
7 times 8, 56.
Thank you. 56. Say it's, or we'll say it's 54. Well, they couldn't go higher than 54, so it couldn't be 8, so it'd have to be 7. 49. So then they put 49, and then the difference would be less than 7. That was one way of doing it. Another, just with math, with multiplication, they could do arrays so that they could visualize it better.
Yeah.
There are other tricks I don't quite remember, but I just remember in my brain, math came just so easily to me that, like, why don't you get it? This makes perfect sense. It's like, but they're not. And why aren't they getting it? Where are they getting hung up? Or even just the process, even just like how to line up those numbers so they don't get all jumbled and confused. And so they gave them paper with lines on it.
Yeah.
And like, but that might be too busy for them. So, you know, so they're just different ways, but you just have to kind of think how they're thinking, or take them from the point of success and just ease them up to the next level. So go back to where are they successful? So maybe it's just with adjectives, you know, just straight adjectives and just identifying adjectives, and then slowly do some, like the more obvious opposites. You know, so just like where are they successful, and then you know, then kind of go up to the next level. But I mean, it's hard, and every kid is different, and every kid learns differently. But you know, but you also get to know them as they're working, and you get to figure out kind of how they learn and what will help them, and also using their interests. So like one student's really into sharks, so I might use more shark references, you know, when I'm working with that person. Or, you know, girls are really into princesses usually. Or if there's a new movie out, like Frozen, like when Frozen came out. So I use lots of Anna and Elsa references, just because that's how they make those connections,
Mm.
and that's what's interesting to them, and that will engage them. So